Very good morning. Thank you so much, Lydia, for the introduction. Can the secretary display my PowerPoint? From the first slide, please. Yes. Thank you so much. Today, I'm very pleased to present to you the Asia CCUS Network Annual and Midterm Work Plan. It is important that this work plan, the annual as well as midterm work plan, will aim to achieve key milestone throughout 2021 to 2025. In this year, 2021, as you know already, that this is the launching of Asia CCUS Network, which is very important for these activities. Throughout this year until next year, April, we're going to retain some of the major activity of capacity building training, research study on CCUS, and knowledge sharing within ASEAN and East Asia countries. And we're also going to conduct the CO2 storage potential mapping. That will be important. What will be the location site and what will be the potential of storage of CO2. That will be key in terms of how, after we capture the CO2, how this CO2 going to be transported and finally kept at the site. And another key milestone, we will going to develop a detailed roadmap of the CCUS in these regions. And for our midterm work plan from 2022 to 2025, we're going to have the development of CCU projects as well as the business model. So the key milestone of our activities will retain around capacity building training, study, and knowledge sharing. In addition of this, the midterm, we're going to have a proper understanding of the matching of emission sources and storage site. That will be key milestone for our activities. And at the same time, we're going to have more study on in terms of creating common rule and regulation of the CCUS deployment. In addition, we also going to have a select case pilot study in ASEAN country for CCUS. For the annual work plan, as you see that three main components will be the activities of our key activity of our annual work plan, that is knowledge sharing, research study, capacity building. In addition, a component 4 on advisory group, because it's important to advise the secretary to move on of the major activity and milestone. In the component 1 on knowledge sharing, we're going to have a series of workshops which is already identified with OGCI, with the US DOE and Australian government, with ADB, CM, and IEA. In addition, in this year, we're going to have a detailed workshop that is supported by MRI in terms of the model case study on CCUS. For the research study, we already get a support from MRI, as I already mentioned. For the capacity building, it is necessary to bridge the knowledge gap in the ASEAN countries, that some countries need to have this up-to-date knowledge in order to design their policy. First of all, we are going to have a workshop on the capture technologies, and then we have a workshop on the transportation technologies of the CCUS and also the utilization. This midterm work plan, all our activity remain around three main components: knowledge sharing, research study, and capacity building. However, for the midterm work plan, we add additional activity for the knowledge sharing, that is the identify pilot project of CCUS in ASEAN. And for the research study, we're going to conduct more study in terms of the rule and regulation for the deployment of CCUS. We're going to have detailed study on Asia CCUS value chain. We're going to have a detailed study in terms of financing. on the CCUS, and also other study on policy research in terms of the business model and carbon credit and trading, as well as joint credit mechanism. For capacity building, beside the capture CCUS emission CO2 emission capture technologies, transportation and storage, we're going to have a site visit to some of the facility, CCUS facility in ES countries. For component 4, it's important that the advisory group meeting will meet regularly, at least 2 times per year, to advise the secretariat to move on the major activity throughout the year, as well as for the midterm plan. This during the meeting that the advisory group member also will update each other in terms of the policies progress in each of the ASEAN as well as ES country in terms of how they move on some of the policy changes in terms of to accommodate the CCUS or other changes with regard to CCUS in their region. This is the detail of the component 1 of the knowledge sharing. In the knowledge sharing component, we will have a series of workshops and activity. One of those is the major activity of Asia CCUS Network Forum. As today we have the forum to disseminate knowledge experiences amongst our regions. And we're going to have a series of the workshop and conference with some of the key institutions like ADB, CMIA, and other institutions. And we're going to have a detailed workshop with the MOI that support our case studies with regard to the CCUS in terms of the whole value chain as well as the financial aspect. For research study in this year, we're going to have a detailed study in terms of particularly how we're going to capture the CO2 from, for example, like the power plant, coal power plant. By this case study, we're able to understand the whole value chain from the capturing, storage, and also to the final destination of the storage site. From the public available information, we can understand that how this kind of thing can be can be commercialized or not, if without any barrier, what is going to happen and what policy support need to be in place, and what other regulation and legal institutional aspect need to be in place to support this kind of CCUS deployment. Next, please. In terms of research study, from this, we're going to have 1 or 2 workshops to disseminate these preliminary findings from this detailed study of support by MOIs, so that we can understand fully in terms of safety, long-term CO2, how they're going to be financed in the near futures. Next, please. In terms of the preliminary finding, we also aim to share this preliminary finding to this our network as well as to the policymaker within our region. So we already identify key speaker basically around this carbon capture, utilization, and storages. Additional study that will be added to the midterm plan include the legal and regulation with regard to CCUS. That basically about common rule and regulation of deployment of CCUS. And we're going to have a detailed study on CCUS value chain and financial scheme to support the CCUS and other policy research in terms of carbon credit trading and joint credit mechanism. And we're going to have more other study if necessary as advised by our advisory group member. In terms of capacity building, we also identify some of the key speakers that going to support this on the capacity building in terms of carbon technologies. And this going to support to countries that need this knowledge gap to break the knowledge gap on the CCUS. The same for the workshop on transportation and storage technology. We already identified some of the key speakers. For the workshop on CO2 utilization, we're going to have key speakers from Indonesian case study as well as Singapore case study. This to enlighten the understanding within ASEAN context. As I already mentioned earlier, one of the major activity that we're going to have within the midterm plan is the selection of Asia CCUS pilot projects. And to support the understanding of the CCUS, we're going to have some of the exposure visit to the CCUS facility in some of the country in EAS. And other activity will be included as recommended by advisory group member. Component 4 is very important. That is the advisory group member meeting, regular meeting. We're going to have 1 or 2 times per year meeting to advise our activities, secret toward major activity and milestone. Next, please. You can find the detail of our work plan and other activities and resources at our website here. Our website has launched yesterday. That is www.asiaccusnetwork-eria.org. I hope that you will find this detailed information and more resources will be uploaded to this website of Asia CCUS. With this, I want to conclude my presentation. Thank you so much, by the way. Lydia, the floor is back to you.